Hello, welcome to another edition of the Pace Report. I'm Brian, Pace Reporting live here at the Jazz Standard here in New York City. Guitarist Julian Lage tonight is playing selections off his brand new CD, Gladwell, and it's really a mix and a fusion of both classical, straight-ahead jazz, and world influences. Throughout his career, he has really been under the influences of lots of classical and jazz, but in addition to that, he's added his own flavor to the guitar. Tonight he's playing selections off the new CD, and tonight we're going to talk about his experiences growing up on the West Coast, as well as his stint playing with mentor and now friend Gary Burton. Gladwell, this is the follow-up of your Grammy-nominated first debut CD.
Yeah.
What's different about this CD versus your first album?
Well, this CD is basically a band record. The first record was an amalgamation of a lot of groups I played with, solo, duo, trio, and then full group. But Gladwell focuses on the five-piece band that I have with cello, sax, guitar, bass, and drums, and it really delves into that both compositionally and just interaction-wise throughout the whole record.
Tell me about how you have really brought the classical and the orchestral side of the music to Gladwell, because like you said, you brought the cello, but there's also a straight-ahead jazz component, there's a world component.
Yeah. Well, classical music as a genre, the masters of Beethoven, Bach, and Bartok, and Schoenberg, and all these people, and so many more, they're so influential on a compositional level. They painted landscapes with concertos and symphonies, and people continue to do that in that tradition. So I felt like I kind of took from the orchestral side of classical music and try to apply it to this kind of weirdo configuration of instruments, because it's not a typical jazz group, it's not, or a string quartet, it's something kind of in between. And then as far as the improvisation as it is in jazz music, I think that's just what I grew up with, man. And same with Jorge and the other guys in the band. So that certainly informs the way we play these kind of classically composed pieces as we enter it through the door of improvisation.
Speaking of improvisation, in the world of classical, because that's some of your training also, how hard is it because classical, you are structured, you have pieces that you have to play intricately to a T, whereas jazz is just free for all?
Well, it's kind of the essence of what we want to do is to play melodies and play rhythms and play harmonies and interact. And I feel if you're performing a piece that's previously written in classical, it's true, you can kind of get into this, you got to play it right, you got to interpret it well. We've built in a lot of wiggle room, so to speak, so that we can play the tunes, but we can also play them drastically different if we want to. So that's built into the design to kind of let us, have our jazz personality within pretty through composed music.
Your beginnings are very humble, but also at the same time, the guitar kind of came very easy to you.
Well, I had a very wonderful upbringing in the sense that I grew up in a very supportive family, continues to be supportive and nurturing, and I was exposed to a lot of art and music just through my parents, because my dad was a visual artist for years and is just one of the most creative people. I know, and same with my mom. They're both these kind of forces, and so they were always encouraging myself and I'm the youngest of 5 children. They're encouraging us to kind of go for it, whatever interested us. And you mentioned the guitar came easy, and I wouldn't say any of the actual playing was super second nature, but the environment came extremely easy. If I was interested, all of a sudden I had people who wanted to help, and I had people I could study with, and my parents would drive me to lessons and things like that. So that's what came extremely effortless, and one of these things that I just can only count my blessings for. I have I don't know what I did to deserve that, but it was wonderful.
Growing up 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 years old, playing it and instrumentally training for the guitar, learning it, what were some of the nuances or some of the things that you just understood, this is what I really wanted to do?
Well, the biggest part, if I were to think of it, it's a great question. I think the biggest thing that kept coming back to was the evocative nature of music, that you could put on a CD and it would change your day, or you could put on one song and totally you're in that mood. So that was kind of the thing I kept coming back to, was whatever style I'm into, whether it be blues, jazz, or classical, or Indian music, or South American folk music, I was always interested in the communication aspect, what message is being delivered and what's the agent of delivery, and I think that kind of was the centerpiece of me growing up, and that's probably what got me into it in the first place, is the way my dad would communicate with me. We had music, and then I spread that to playing with other musicians, and then eventually a band, and now with audiences.
And speaking of which, because listening to your CD and also your performance tonight, the communication and language, your influences. I mean, I'm hearing Django Reinhardt. I'm hearing some Joe Pass. I'm hearing all aspects of jazz, guitar, and classical guitar.
Sure. Well, for me, I'm a guitar nerd at heart, and I've been for years checking out everything about the guitar I could. Specifically in the last 5 or so years, I've invested a lot in players like Eddie Lang and Nick Lucas, and kind of pre-bebop jazz guitar, when he was kind of coming out of tenor banjo and the real roots of guitar as it is in jazz today. And then furthermore, studying guitar from a flamenco point of view or a classical point of view. And I don't know, I was talking to a friend recently, and I said I think it's basically a beautiful mechanism, and it's up to us to be as clear with how the mechanism works. And in order to do that, you kind of do have to jump into the historical background, and you see that cats have been playing the guitar in every possible way for so long, different tunings, upside down, left, right, different styles, and if you open your heart to that and your ears to that, you're never the same.
Another one of your famous partnerships is, and also this gentleman is your mentor, the legendary vibraphonist Gary Burton. And I told you earlier, I heard the upcoming CD, and it's just like every band that he's had, and he's just phenomenal talent. How did you guys meet, and how did you guys just strike up this friendship, or this mentor musicianship type friendship?
Well, Gary has a knack for, finding artists that he wants to work with. And he has an incredible knack for cultivating those relationships by setting up concerts or recordings or tours. And, he knows what it takes to get your favorite people in one room. It's booking gigs and writing music and calling on other people to arrange music. And meeting him, I was about 12 years old when I first met him, and he asked me to play one gig, and we did that one gig, and he asked me to do another after, and so on and so forth until we started playing in a band when I was about 15 or 16, made a couple records, and then now today we're embarking on the new Gary Burton Quartet, which is featuring Antonio Sanchez and Scott Colley and myself. So it really just, I can't even begin to describe that. It was just a very kind of a once in a lifetime experience to have such a master seek you out in a way and open his arms to you and say, like, you're coming with me, basically. So yeah, it's pretty amazing.
What is the Julian Lage sound?
Whew. It's a sound that is based on the premise of sharing, I think, at its core. Devoting yourself to a process, whether you know how it's going to turn out or not, that's kind of at the core of the sound that we go for. Whether it be improvisationally going for new stuff or compositionally, it's really about kind of throwing yourself into the mess and being as generous as possible to share it with other people and make them feel invited into a relatively unknown and mysterious realm. So that's what I'm after.
That'll do it again for another edition of the Pace Report, reporting live here at the Jazz Standard here in New York City. I'd like to personally thank Julian Lage for his time, as well as the staff and management here at the Jazz Standard. As always, please visit my website, www.thepacereport.com, for my weekly column, as well as my past segments. Until next time, remember, if it's in the groove, it'll make you move. Until next time, peace.